his face.
I am okay. I'm okay if you will.
All right, good.
What were the times?
Sometime between 12:30 and 2:30.
Julie,
Pick any time.
Julie, are we recording?
Or if you're gonna be there.
Did you get that?
She won't be there.
So I've got a 12:30 meeting, but let's plan 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock? Okay, all right, I'll tell her that. And then I can reverse or talk to you about it tonight, like in recess.
And who is it?
There's a man who lives from the BRT.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Morgan County Commission meeting, February 1st. Time is 5:01. All commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Newton, who will not be joining us tonight. I'd like to welcome all those in attendance. We will start with, I've asked Commissioner Wilson to give us an invocation and pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we approach thee this evening. We give thee thanks for the blessings that we receive at thy hand. We're thankful to live in this beautiful community, thankful for the residents here, and grateful for our relationships and the love that we share. We pray, Heavenly Father, that as we go about our commission meeting this evening, that we'll be able to accomplish the things that we need to, that those persons who need to express themselves can do so, and that we can understand what they have to share with us. We pray, Heavenly Father, thou will bless our nation, watch over our leaders, and help them to make wise choices. We pray for more moisture to help our community and our farmers this upcoming year. We love and appreciate all that thou does for us, and we recognize thy hand in our lives, and we say these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have consent items, approval of January 18, 2022 meeting minutes.
Jared, I would like to move that we not approve the January 18th meeting minutes because of some corrections that needed to be done, and I've gone through them, and I know Commissioner McConnell also has some that he wanted to go through with her, so we can postpone it till next time. So I move that, if it's...
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion that we will postpone the approval of the January 18, 2022 meeting minutes to the next meeting, which is on February 15th. Motion made by Commissioner Fackrell, seconded by Commissioner McConnell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next on the consent item list, we have approval of a Clef grant contract. I don't know if you need any background on this, but this happens every year. Library gets a grant. I believe it's a few $1,000s.
Yeah, it is a few
about
thousand.
$3,000, but a grant from the state. I don't know if you guys need any more discussion about that.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Clef grant contract.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the Clef contract by Commissioner McConnell, second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next on the list, we have a declaration of conflict of interest from any of the commissioners. Okay, hearing none. I'd like to open the next part of the agenda for public comments with respect to matters on the agenda that is not in a public hearing. So any items that are on the agenda, with the exception of those that are in a public hearing, or any other items you'd like to discuss, to let those know on the action item list, we will not be discussing action item number 5 in the meeting tonight. So as it says on here, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name. Any interested in public comment?
Me again. Michelle Wyman, Mountain Green. I wanted to thank you first for your willingness to follow through with the agreement to finish off the vegetation between the airport and the homes on Willow Creek. Along with that, I ask again, with the development that's moving forward with the airport and the infrastructure that's going forward with that, getting a water source to that berm is a big deal, and I think if it's done along with the infrastructure, it's gonna be a lot easier and a lot less expensive for the county versus if you wait and do it after that has been done. It will be quite a bit more expensive to run a line over there if you're having to redig trenches and that. Another item, and I don't know if this was canceled on the agenda, but this was number 5. I didn't see the agenda back there, so I couldn't see, so I apologize if this is the one that was canceled. It was brought up at the last meeting to increase 2 of the sizes of the hangars. Looking at that, I don't see a reason for the increase. There wasn't really a reason given by the 2 community members that are asking for the increase. I did go and talk to all of the neighbors, or the neighbors that were home, get their opinion on it. They're not excited about it. We did increase the size. I voted no on the airport advisory board to increase the size from 40 by 50 to the 60 by 60. And now they're asking 2 of those to be increased to 60 by 80 and a 60 by 70. And I think the benefit that they'll give is not nearly the negative impact it would be on the community. Another comment on the airport, I cannot find an environmental study that was done back in '98 when they did the master plan for the airport. There wasn't done one at that point. There should have been one done with our uniqueness of our airport, and it's surrounded by homes, Browning, and the commercial center. That's something that should have been done. There are quite a few items in the NEPA that are in accordance with our airport and our community that should have been looked at before we passed a master plan or before we started to develop even more. And that's something, if there is one that I'm overlooking and not finding, if not, I would ask that before more development happens in the airport, that should be done. There's just a few items on there, the impact categories that are pretty significant to our community. Thanks.
Thank you. Any others interested in public comment?
Yeah, please. Yeah, also responding on the airport, my name is Gary Stetler. I live at 3815 Willow Creek Road with my wife and I have lived there for 19 years and haven't regretted a moment of it. Haven't regretted the airport for that matter. And in fact, years ago when we bought our lot from Mr. Babcock, we actually signed an agreement that we knew that Browning Arms and the airport were there, and we had no problems. Still don't have any problems with the airport being there. But you must admit, over the 19 years, a lot's changed. Back 19 years ago, it was a fairly rural community. There were maybe a dozen hangars, a couple of dozen aircraft, and it wasn't a real big deal. And we enjoyed it, still enjoy the aircraft flying around. That's not an issue. But what we are concerned about is that as the community grows, I mean, it's no longer a little rural farming community or whatever. It's now become a suburban area. It's got a lot of homes. A lot of people have moved in. And we do, we do worry a little bit. Well, I think really what happened, I think the airport is, I think we can all agree, it's a mutual benefit both economically and also culturally. I think it's nice to have an airport in the community, and that provides a, provides a service, and it's nice. It's a draw for some of these people that are airplane pilots. I think become with the community, and we enjoy that. But as we have seen over these last 19 years, sometimes, and Michelle was talking about a little earlier about the improvement that never did take place, even though it was agreed to years and years ago with the berm and landscape, and we very much appreciate the fact that you've already addressed that, because it's it's been kind of, it seems like over the years, it's always been kind of a one-sided thing. It's real easy for a pilot or a firm or somebody to come and say, we'd like to build a hangar, and yeah, say, sure, go right ahead and everything. But how is it affecting the rest of the people that are around that area? I mean, we're looking at the potential of safety problems. We're going to get to a point where there are so many, and I don't know what that point is. I don't deal with the FAA or know what the rules or regulation is, but is there going to be a time when there are so many planes coming in and out that it becomes a hazard, and it becomes a noise situation? It's already a noise situation. I can already tell you that. I've got a daughter that has a home on the end of the runway. Same thing. 10, 12 years ago, it wasn't an issue. Now it's an issue. 10, 12 years ago, maybe they flew a few times on a Saturday. Now it's every morning, several touch and goes. 6 o'clock in the morning is not unusual. It doesn't happen often, but they can be awake now they're asleep. So I guess I would just ask the commission as you look at these plans, and same thing with the expansion that Michelle was talking about, that all sounds fine and dandy unless you're the homeowner that lives right across the street from the home, from the hangar, I should say, that's that size. We already kind of fought it one time with when the Durbano tried to put a hangar there. It was basically blocking everybody's view. And I would just encourage you, especially as, like I say, we have no qualms about the airport. But one thing I would encourage you to do, if none of you have been by the airport, and I'm sure you have at one point or another, take a drive. Bobby goes by there every day. Take a look at what the airport is and ask yourself, okay, if my home was across the street like ours is, we keep a nice yard, we take care of things, the neighbors all up there do their thing. Is the airport doing the same thing in reciprocation? Or ask yourself, as these projects go forward, is the airport, are the commissioners keeping the residents in mind also as for these things? And that's all I would ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others that would like to address commissioners in public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move next item on the agenda. Director Collins, Weber Morgan Health Department update.
Good evening, Commissioners, and appreciate the time on your agenda to update you on Health Department activities in Morgan County in relation to a COVID situation. This evening I brought up some visual aids. I left a little piece of paper there that's a graph for you to look at as I talk for a minute. This is a graph of the rolling 14-day case average and the rolling 7-day case average from the beginning of our COVID pandemic, or the first case of COVID in Morgan County, through to today. So almost 2 years of time frame represented in this graph. And I've handwritten in a couple of data points of interest on there. The first one, starting from the left-hand side, is November 25th of 2020. That was really our first wave of COVID in Morgan County. At the time, we didn't have vaccinations available. We had some mask mandates in place and some other public health measures to try and mitigate the spread of the disease. And in Morgan County back then, we were averaging about 13.2 new cases a day. That was really the peak of the wave from that time frame. And after that point, case numbers started to decline. And the next date I've written in there is June 2nd of 2021. That was kind of the lull or the low point that we experienced last summer. And at that time frame, we were experiencing about a half a new case a day, or maybe another way to say that is a new case every other day for Morgan County. But as summer went on and we entered into August, we started to add additional cases. We started seeing disease growth. There was a lot of discussion around the school year starting and how we were going to manage cases in school. We had some very good discussions about mask mandates or other ways to manage cases in the schools that the health department worked with the school district to try and keep outbreaks at the schools to a minimum, which also impacts our families and our communities. So if we don't spread it in the schools, then we don't take it as home as much. And we we were having a manageable experience with cases into the school year, and actually had a little bit of a rise in cases in the county, and they started to decline again as we entered into December. And about December 9th was when we experienced kind of the lowest point with the Delta variant. There we were averaging 2.2 new cases a day. But that's when Omicron variant started to enter Utah, and we've seen some just phenomenal growth. It's been very interesting to see how infectious this new variant has been compared to the Delta variant or the original virus. And we've, in just a short period of time, about a three-week time frame, Morgan County rose all the way up to 27 new cases a day. And I'm sure you've probably had discussions with people in the community that have been sick recently with the virus or tested positive or had family members or friends that have been. We've just experienced a very rapid spread through the community. But the good news is, with these data points and others that we're watching, we're pretty comfortable in the position that our case growth has plateaued, and we're actually starting to trend downwards. There's a few nuances to that claim that we're watching. Statewide, we maxed out the testing capacity of the state that we had built up, and we heard the governor's office release some guidance in conjunction with the state health department for people to not test if they were symptomatic, and just to assume that they had the virus and stay home, follow the isolation and quarantine guidance. So that is affecting our case numbers a little bit, making them a little bit less reliable than we heard in the past. Or maybe another way to say that is, we anticipate there's a higher disease burden in the community than what's being reflected in our actual number of positive cases. But also looking at our positive case rates of each day with the total number of tests that are taken, that number has started to decline. Our syndromic data is where we look at emergency room use and outpatient clinic use associated with COVID and influenza and a couple of other infectious agents. That has also started to decline. And then there's we're not doing any wastewater sampling in Morgan County, but looking at the wastewater sampling that we're doing in Weber County and Davis County, there's been a system developed where we can sample the wastewater, the sewage, and measure the viral load in the sewage, or the amount of genetic material from the virus in sewage, and do a comparison with that with the actual case numbers. And we're starting to see those samples have lower amounts of viral material in them as well. And it's all those things combined that we look at to make the assessment that we feel like we've plateaued in our case growth and are on that downward trend, which is good news. I think our community has had an interesting experience over the last 3 to 4 weeks. We've heard from a number of businesses that have been impacted with staff out sick. At the health department, we've been about a third of our staff down over the last 4 weeks, just from people with the virus themselves and out. And the schools, we've heard that they have really struggled, not just with students and absenteeism, but also maintaining the level of staffing they need to hold school. That's just kind of a quick synopsis of what we've experienced and how we got to that point. And I brought this graph to let you see just really kind of how interesting the growth rate with the Omicron variant has been in the community. And the good thing is that we are on that downward trend, and hope to stay on that trend for into the future. A couple other numbers to report to you on the COVID situation here. We currently have 172 active cases in the community. That's a pretty high number. Over the last couple of months, as I've come and reported to you, the highest I've reported to you was back in September 21st of 2021. And then we had 63 active cases in Morgan County. So there's still a lot of positive cases in the community, and people that should be following the guidance to minimize the spread. We still are having positive cases in the schools that we're managing. We currently have 18 cases in the Morgan School District. But again, those are being managed through contact tracing with our health department staff and the school district staff, and then cooperation with the parents. That's another key to help us with the success we've had up here, is parents are keeping their children home when they're symptomatic or sick, and then getting them tested when they need to. So we appreciate that cooperation from them. And as we look at the deaths in the community, we're holding at 13 deaths over the last 2 years. So another good good number to report, that we aren't experiencing additional deaths in Morgan County from the COVID illness. As we look at the hospital situation in the Weber-Morgan Health District, this is where we monitor the case numbers going into McCady Hospital and Ogden Regional Hospital. We've seen an increase in hospitalizations, but the hospitalizations characteristics have changed. We have more people with COVID in the hospital right now occupying hospital beds, but fewer people occupying ICU units. So again, that's a reflection on the Omicron variant and the less severity of disease that it has from a community perspective. But we still have the same individual risk of where you could be in the ICU or die from the illness. But hospitals are still struggling with the amount of COVID cases that are coming to them, and we're watching that and monitoring it closely to try and help them as best we can. And they've also experienced staff outages due to COVID as well. It's been difficult for them to manage. But again, maybe just to round it off, I think the good news is I think we've turned the corner on this, and we're starting to see fewer new cases a day in our communities. That's good news. The other item I would like to report to you on this morning is the progress, or this evening, sorry, is the progress of the space in the Morgan City building that the health department will occupy in coordination with the Weber Human Services. The RFP for finishing that space out to our needs has been finalized. They're selecting the contractor on that now, and we still have anticipated time of occupancy of mid-June of 2022. So we're excited about that. We feel like it's moving along at a good pace, and our plan is to try and increase some of the services that the health department can offer here in Morgan City. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thanks. We got the weekly updates as well.
Yes.
And I didn't graph it, but I'm just interested to know. So, I mean, this is an exponential jump.
Yeah.
But as I just thinking about the numbers of hospitalizations, they didn't experience the same number of jump. We still have a big demand on the hospitals, but if it had jumped exponentially, we would be clearly overflowing. And is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. We've seen an increase in hospitalizations, but most of that has been in non-ICU beds. Typically, currently, for example, we're occupying 252 of the 455 hospital beds available that aren't intensive care units. That's about 55% of that occupancy. In the past, or prior to Omicron, I think the highest we got with that was around the 45 to 50% occupancy of those beds. But what has declined is our ICUs. 97% occupancy in our ICU beds right now. We've reported as high as 140% on those with the Delta variant.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next on the agenda, let's go through the action items. As mentioned before, we will not be discussing action item number 5. That will not be on the agenda for tonight. First action item we have, Commissioner Wilson, Chief Kerrigan, approval of truck purchase for the fire department.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to approach the Commission for the purpose of a leased vehicle for County Fire Marshal. As you know, the County Code requires the fire department to complete a fire plan review with 2 site visits on all new construction in the county as well as the city. Currently, our fire marshal is using his personal vehicle and has for several years without any kind of compensation. If we're going to require this of our fire marshal, we need to provide him with a vehicle. Along with its normal duties, this vehicle will be utilized as a first responder, greatly enhancing our ability to get a qualified incident commander on scene for any medical, traffic accident, fire, or hazmat event. The vehicle will be leased to the county's lease program with Enterprise. The lease will include all services in the cost of the lease. Cost of the lease for this vehicle would be $586.77 a month for a yearly total of $7,041.24. The funding would come out of the fire fleet account. The cost of the lease will be offset by the new fire department fee schedule. So I'm here for any questions.
None for me.
So we know, we've had these discussions on this particular truck for, I believe it's been a few months now. I think you
Well,
actually
a few
discussed it in budget also, did you not, Chief Carrigan?
A few months ago, when the fire was here and Dave was here with him, we talked about providing him with something because of his use of his personal vehicle, which we don't feel like he should be doing. So this is what we decided to propose.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of a truck for the fire department pursuant to the Enterprise Fleet Management Contract Quote Number 6132843 for a 2022 Ford F-150. Is that the right vehicle?
That's it. I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion for the approval of the truck purchase as mentioned by Commissioner McConnell, second by Commissioner Wilson. Any questions to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief Carrigan. Okay, second on the action item, we've got Carrie Gibson representing the, we have on here legislative consulting group because we're under contract with them, but I believe Carrie represents Lincoln Hill and Associates for an update on the legislative session.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's good to be with you. I always feel at home when I come here, so thank you for that. Maybe even more than I do at my own hometown. So I'm a little bit Morgan, I guess. But thank you for the opportunity to present for just a minute. I don't have a lot to offer tonight other than to just give you a quick background since the last time I was here about a month ago about how things are going specifically with the interchange. I'll just start by letting you know that we have the legislative session is in full swing. We are now in the middle of our third week, which means that by the end of the week we're halfway done. It's amazing how much is packed into a 45-day session. When we say 45 days, that's 45 calendar days, which means really only about 30-some days of work days. And of course, there's a lot of things that are discussed from policy, from the policy perspective, but probably the most important thing that's done in any given legislative session is the appropriations process or the budget process. I've always said that you can tell what people believe by how they spend their money as much as by what they say. So the legislature is in that process. The legislature met early on, even before the session started, and started to put a framework around the budget process. They put building blocks in place by way of caucus positions that were then voted on quickly with base budgets early in the session, making sure that at the end of the session they're haggling over things that were not early priorities or not current priorities that they felt like needed to be continued. So I think you see a lot of that base stuff taken care of. That we've moved into the section now where the appropriations subcommittees meet every single day, and they have been since the beginning of the session. What that means is that every legislator is assigned to an appropriations subcommittee where they have a part of the budgeting process. And for instance, there's a transportation appropriations committee, there's a natural resources, so anything that would fit under that topic that is an appropriative request. They will discuss in that meeting and then make recommendations to the overall legislature for funding. Those processes are close to completed now. The last day for Appropriations Committee meetings are this Friday. They will probably be voting on final recommendations by Wednesday, and then the process moves to the group that we call Executive Appropriations, which is generally members of both elected and appointed leadership in both houses, the House and the Senate. That is the time when things really start to get serious about the final budget priorities, and I think that's when we'll start to see some coalescence around these big transportation projects. There's a lot of ways to fund these big projects, and a lot of them have to do with it's determined by whether or not we're going to bond for those projects or program over a certain period of time, or frankly this year there is no question that there's more money in the state coffers to begin with than there has been for a long time. First of all, from a state budget surplus perspective, there was quite a bit of surplus to begin with, and on top of that, the federal government, of course, had sent us a whole bunch of that free money that was a joke, by the way, I'm sorry. I got the look, he looked at me just out of the corner. I just wanted to make sure he knew I was kidding. And so the legislature has the responsibility of making sure that that money is appropriated as well, according to the strings attached by the federal government as it was appropriated. So when you add those two things together, it's quite a budget surplus. And the legislature, to their credit, I think started right off with passing a tax cut, an income tax cut, to start right off saying we're going to take some of this off the table from the beginning. They've also been building those blocks around that tax cut that I think will help them to be prepared for this final phase. So in the final phase, as soon as we start to find out exactly how these projects will be funded, I'll come back and report as well within a couple of weeks. But I will just say this quickly and then take some questions, and that is that this project is gaining a lot of steam. It feels good. Those who are decision makers in this realm are paying attention, are communicating well with those who they need to bring on board, and frankly, I think that you will see my prediction, even though I never make promises in this business, but my prediction is that you'll see action on this during this legislative session. What that level of action is, we can be more specific in a couple of weeks, but I believe we'll see some action. So I guess it's simple in that it's going well. It feels good. It feels like there's momentum on our side, and your team is working well together. So that's always a question when you bring a couple of different firms together like you did in this case, but I think it's working really well, and we have no complaints about how things are working. So I am available for questions either now or at any time that you have them. Feel free to call me. I think you all have my contact information. Happy to share any of that with you, but I think that's really all I can share at this point, but I'm happy to communicate at your pleasure.
We really appreciate all the work that you guys have performed up to this point. Any questions for Kerry? Always here.
Just want to thank you for the shave haircut and the suit.
It's tough. It's tough. When I was Commissioner of Agriculture, I got away with the jeans and the jacket for a long time, and once you get that status, you don't ever want to go back, right? So anyway, I'm back to the suit for a minute. But Thursdays and Fridays, even at the Capitol, I'm in boots and jeans. Let me just say one more thing real quick. We do appreciate, I want to express appreciation for the involvement that you've had in this process, because as I've talked with you individually, you've offered help, support. Many of you have contacts of your own that just simply need to be coordinated, and I appreciate that because we're able to use those to further the county on our behalf. And frankly, probably your legislators, both from the House and the Senate, that represent this area have been helpful as well. I had a good conversation with Representative Berkland about this morning. She's engaged and doing good work for the community, and I want publicly to thank you all for the engagement that you have, because again, we all have a role to play. It's important, and whatever that role is, I guess I've always believed in that lift where you stand type mentality, and we can do it together. So with that, if there's any other questions, I'm
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'd rather see you in your coveralls though.
All right, next item, number 3 on the action item list. County Attorney Garrett Smith, approval of an interlocal agreement with Weber County to provide indigent defense services for the county.
All right, thank you. So Sean Condi has done a great job for our county over the last 4 years or so, representing the indigent, or, you know, public defender is what people usually refer to them as. He took a position with the Farmington courts, has a conflict, and as we were looking to bring, you know, an individual on to cover the caseload, I was approached by Brian Barron down at Weber County, and we'd had previous discussions, you know, 6 months ago or so, about doing some sort of interlocal agreement where we could provide greater services to Morgan County and potentially limit conflicts, or, you know, if someone can't appear one day, they can have someone cover the calendar and just do it where there's more resources there. And so that is what brought about the interlocal agreement. It does fall within the current budget that has been set aside for the indigent defense, and the only change to the agreement that was in the packet is that we were wanting it to take place February 1st, if approved, rather than March 1st. Any questions on it?
You also just need to update the name of the chair for the county signature.
Of the chair, yes. And so that is one other change I made as well. So, yep, I'll do that. Or no, I updated to Leslie. I missed Robert, so I will, yeah,
Okay.
I'll get that updated. If it does get signed tonight, should I just update it
I
to
think you could-
Jared for,
Yeah.
You'll need to change county commission to instead of council.
Yeah, we can make those
oh,
changes.
okay. All right.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the interlocal agreement with Weber County to provide indigent services, defense services for the county, as outlined in the contract, with the changes mentioned.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion on the table for approval of the interlocal agreement with Weber County to provide indigent defense services for the county. Any questions on the motion?
And that's effective February 1st?
February
So with
1st, sorry.
With the changes mentioned.
Yep.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Planning Director Lance Evans, discussion decision, proposed amendment to the Paul Warner subdivision, changing the number of lots from 2 to 12, located at 4810 West Old Highway Road in Mountain Green, Utah.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on there with the computer screen. This is a 12-lot subdivision that's being proposed. It's going through the plat amendment process. There's 2 existing lots in the subdivision. They are proposing to add 10 lots to the 8.2 acres of development. That meets the 20,000 square foot lot, minimum lot size for the zoning. They will have a road that accesses off of Old Highway for 11 of the lots. Lot 12 is an existing home, and it will continue to have their driveway access off of Old Highway. The zoning, of course, is R120, which this plat proposal meets. I don't think there's any real significant issues. There were some comments from fire department about their hydrants and the water flows. Those are technical details that they've either addressed, most of them, with providing Highlands Water's, giving them flow rates of what they're anticipating and what they've modeled. And that's been signed off since the letter was submitted by the fire department. And also, all the other changes, they've added the hydrant, and the road will be less than 10% grade. So the fire issues that are brought up in the memo by the Mount Green Fire have been addressed or will be during the construction of the project. The Planning Commission held the hearing and recommends approval. That's a quick high-level overview. Would you like to, any questions for me?
Is there a sidewalk? Will there be a
There
sidewalk?
will be a sidewalk.
Okay, with curb and gutter.
Curb and gutter.
Okay. I don't have to ask about trail.
There's some dotted lines in lot 12 and 11 and 7 that all appear to be well protection zones.
And I believe
I know 12's an existing home, but it's like in the center of a well protection zone.
correct.
And then 11, it extends into 11, and up at the top, I think there's another one.
Well, the one at the top is coming from, I'm not sure what that circle is.
It's not labeled here, so it's just dashed the same way, so I assume that's what it was.
I don't have the,
Where at?
Lot
in
seven.
lot 7.
Lot 7.
there's a dashed line.
So I assume the one on lot 12 is probably a well for lot 12. And is lot 7 the Rollins Ranch well for Cottonwood Mutual Water Company?
Right.
Okay. And I'm not concerned about that per se unless we need to just include a note on the plat of subdivision indicating what the impact of having that well protection zone on the lot is. And maybe it's already on the face of the plat.
It should be. It should be on there.
Okay.
So that's not for a well, you're gonna be using Highland Water,
Right.
okay? But that's for the other property owners, that's the 100 foot.
That's the wrong, that's the very top one.
Okay. So there's only one existing home in the lot 12, correct?
One existing home and then, yeah,
And then,
11 more.
and so 11's gonna have that easement.
There's two existing homes, so there's one on lot 11.
So you can build on top of a well protection zone.
One on lot 12 is gonna be torn down.
You can build in the middle of a well protection zone.
A new one built.
Oh, so your father's home was lot 11,
Right,
and lot 12 is the little home,
and that'll be torn down.
and the barn?
That'll be torn down.
Oh,
Okay.
shucks.
Okay, so that'll become 1R? Okay.
So you can build on top of a well protection zone?
You can build on it, but you can't do anything with it.
I think so.
What do you mean you can't do anything with it
Well,
if you build on
you
it?
can't, like,
That's
it prohibits
doing some
septic
with it.
systems, it may prohibit some types of fertilization, some types of pest control treatment, that sort of thing.
Livestock.
I understand it. That's why I just wanted to make sure there's a note on the plat that informs the buyer, particularly, I guess, of lot 7. You guys already have.
Those wells are gonna be abandoned, not the one on 7, well, not the one on 7, but the one on 12, and
Okay.
then we're gonna hook them up. Yeah, they're gonna just set the hydrants on.
Okay.
I think 7's the only one that we're concerned about because that makes the envelope for a home really small unless,
Yeah, the biggest thing is you can't have any livestock concentration of any sort within that 100-foot radius, and then, like he says, pesticides, herbicides, those kinds of things. that
Probably
can-
the biggest thing is septic.
Yeah,
They don't have
septic, and we don't
Yeah.
have septic, so.
No, I just, and again, we didn't have the actual plat in the packet, or I would have looked for the note. I just want to make sure there is a note that addresses it, and we can maybe just make that a part of our motion.
And then you've got to make sure that in 11 and 12, that well protection, even though you're going to abandon that well, I mean, are you going to abandon it, or are you going to use that well to hook into the Highlands?
No, it's gonna be abandoned.
Okay, all right. Then in that case, you don't need the protection. Well, you do to begin with, but not until it's done.
Remove the well protection?
Okay.
So that the well protection covenant runs for the benefit of a particular entity, so if they agreed to remove it, they could remove it. I mean, like on 7, that runs to the benefit of Cottonwood Mutual Water Company if they chose to remove it. I think they could do that. And then Lance, on the Highlands Water Company modeling, I know you indicated the fire district approved that. Did that require any additional infrastructure improvements to be completed? Or just what's being completed within this subdivision?
Not get a detailed email from Highlands Water. They sent just a basic summary that said that they had done the model and that the fire flows were X. I can't remember exactly what they were. And then Brian Brendel, the fire chief, said that it was adequate. So he called that out, got the information.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't remember what that was.
I'd just like to know what their modeling is based on, if it's, because I know they have the tanks, and I know they're building the pump station to take water from their new well on the Johnson property up to those tanks. I just don't know if that's completed, and if that's completed and built into the modeling, then great.
Well, do you guys have approval through Highlands Water?
So then all these conditions have been met by the Mountain Green Fire District? I mean, that they've requested from you guys?
That
Yeah.
additional information was provided. Those were initial comments, and then there was responses to that.
Oh, because I didn't see them.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. If we're ready, I'll move it, or actually, Commissioner McConnell will, he's better at this.
Well, do you want me to just make a motion that includes the condition?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the Paul Warner subdivision plat amendment application 21.036 located at 4900 West Old Highway Road, based on the findings and with the conditions listed in the staff report dated February 1st, 2022, with the additional condition that a note be included on the face of the plat to the extent that it isn't already, indicating what the effect of the well protection zones are on a lot 11, 12, and 7.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion. Make sure I can read through this correctly. We have a motion to move to approve the Paul Warner subdivision plat amendment application number 21.036 located at 4900 West Old Highway Road, based on the findings and with conditions listed in the staff report dated February 1st, 2022, with additional conditions as listed in the staff report, and also the conditions listed by Commissioner McConnell. Motion by Commissioner O'Connell, second by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's move to action item number 6. Commissioner Anderson, approval of contract by and between Morgan County and Utah Governor's Office of Planning and Budget. I submitted in the packet, we had.
So just to be
sorry.
clear real quick.
Yes.
So if this agenda that was on our desk was at the table there, then we're now on 5. So the one that was Previously on there as 5 was the airport, so.
Thank you. I'm
Just so
reading off of
people
the-
are,
Appreciate it, appreciate it, Commissioner McConnell. I'm reading off the agenda that I received earlier, so you've taken that out?
I did,
Okay, so let me just adjust real quick the numbers on the rest of these.
thank you. I guess
Thank
I
you,
should tell you guys.
Commissioner McConnell. Okay, item number 5. Approval of contract binding between Morgan County and Utah Governor's Office of Planning and Budget. I submitted this, I didn't get any questions on this, but as you can see in the packet, we actually acted as a liaison with the Natural History Museum. We had them come to Morgan County and say, hey, can you guys submit for state matching dollars for this program? I think I brought it up maybe about 3 months ago that they are asking Morgan County to contribute $1,000 is all towards this program. They were awarded, they went through the process, they were awarded their full amount from the state. Are excited to get going and move forward on it, but I needed to bring this before the commissioners because it does require our signature to move forward with this. So the dollars would be coming into Morgan County, and then we would be paying Natural History Museum as they're getting their work completed.
So I had some questions on these little tokens or these coins or the papers. Who's gonna, I mean, is that part of the thing that we're developing, or they're working with us to help try to get that mitigated, or what happens, or do you know at this point?
I don't know at this point. I think what they're planning on doing next is getting into the specifics exactly what they'll do for each county.
Okay.
If we're contributing only $1,000 and the state's matching, I believe, I can't remember what percentage they're matching,
Yeah,
then there's only so
60.
many things they're gonna be able to do, and I believe she's gonna go around to each county.
Okay.
I believe it's, is it Beth Mitchell? Beth?
I don't remember.
But I think she's coming around to each county and discussing what she'll be doing with those dollars.
so on page 52 of our materials, and I think it's 3 of 12 in this matter, there's something that says project match requirement, $64,333.
That's for all the counties.
That's for the
All-
combined
all the
amount.
counties, correct.
Okay, ours is 1,000, okay.
Yeah, because that total amount is what all the counties get, not just our county.
That's what
Yeah.
all the contributions, correct?
Yeah. So,
So I didn't see where it said 1,000.
Yeah.
Where is that number?
I'm gonna see if.
there is not one in here, in this, as far as our portion, so it
Did
has
you
to
see
be from
it?
another time.
No, I
Garrett?
did- Yeah, I did not have that in this document.
I'd sure hate to sign it for 64 grand.
It's not. What I can do, this isn't, she's got a lot of time to do this work, so we can wait. I can submit the document that shows how much we'll be contributing. That's not a big deal.
Well, I think it ought to be on there somewhere, don't you?
It just threw me off, because you've got, up in the main body of the agreement, you've got a statement that, of the total amount that the state can award,
Right.
and then it talks about, it does mention multiple counties, but then it comes down and it says project match amount, but it doesn't break it down by county. I think it might be good to,
Yep, I can add that. We can push it till the 15th.
okay. I'll make a motion that we postpone a decision on the contract by and between Morgan County and the Utah Governor's Office of Planning and Budget until our meeting on February 15th.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion to postpone the approval of the contract between Morgan County and Utah Governor's Office of Planning and Budget. Motion made by Commissioner McConnell, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any questions to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 6, approval of appointment to Weber and Morgan Health Board. I forwarded to you just recently, I believe I got this just at 4:30 today, but I forwarded you the 2 names that I had received through Commissioner Wilson. I believe one of the names were submitted to all of us, and then I couldn't tell if the other name was submitted just to Commissioner Wilson or how that came through. But from what I have heard and what I can see, there are 2 names that have been submitted for this position.
Okay.
And I felt like both of them were extremely qualified for the position. I don't think you could go wrong with either.
So, I'm only seeing one.
Yeah, I know. Well, there was the one we got a few months ago from, what was her name? Diane?
Did I only just send it to you?
Diana Windley? Yeah, Windley. And that was one that, but I only see one here now from what you guys sent us.
Okay, there was one from Cheryl Allen,
Yeah, that's the only one I've got.
and then
And then Diana
Diana Windley.
Diana Windley.
So that's two.
Okay.
Did you receive the document from Cheryl?
I did. Yeah, I got that one. I just,
I don't have it.
Let me forward. This was given to us back in October. I was trying to forward this to you guys so it's on the top. And Diana sent this back to us on, I believe, October 15th. So
Was it October
but I
15th?
just shot it over to you, so it's on the
Okay.
top of your.
Oh, there it is.
I agree with Commissioner Wilson. I believe they're both qualified and would do a good job for us on that board.
I don't personally know either person, so
I don't either.
I'm happy to choose if no one else wants to. Okay, I will, let's see, I will make a motion that we appoint Cheryl Allen to the Weber so she represents us on that board. Am I correct?
The Weaver Morgan
Okay,
Morgan Health
to
Department.
represent Morgan County on the Weber Morgan Health Board.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion for Cheryl Allen to represent Morgan County on the Weber Morgan Health Board by Commissioner Wilson, seconded by Commissioner McConnell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 7, all I have
Can I
here
just
is
ask,
scope.
who's gonna follow up on that, just so so it's clear?
I will get with Julie. Julie, let's discuss this tomorrow and figure out what we need to do to get that over to the Weaver Morgan Health Department. Hi, Director Cowan. I will still get with Julie and follow up with her. We'll get you included in that conversation.
You were in your camo right there.
All right, item number 7, Sheriff's Office pay adjustments. Sheriff Brashears.
I want to thank you guys for this opportunity to come, and I promise it won't be long. To start with, though, I want to pass on a thank you from my office of what you guys did for this last year through budget and everything like that. They are very happy, they are very pleased. These two that I brought in front of you this evening, they did not bring this up. This was brought to me by my chief deputy and said, hey, you made a mistake. I made a mistake on this when I did the budget, and as my family tells me, I think I was having a chemo moment or something, because, yeah, the first one we'll discuss, and I need to be careful not to add names in on it. There's one, and there's some explanations under the personnel action forms that you have explaining what took place. The first one, I put him in as a deputy 1. He's been a deputy 2 with us for 2 years. I just put him in the wrong one.
So you demoted him?
Pretty month. Doesn't even know. It was brought, and I'm like, no, and then they showed me, and I'm like, well, I can't tell you why. I don't know. So that's just the adjustment there. It's just to put him into that deputy two line item there. The other one, pretty much the same. I just messed up. I had him with 8 years of experience, and that's what he had when he came to us. And he's been with us for 2 years. So I didn't give him credit for the 2 years that he was with us, and that's the adjustment for that one. These are ones that I just made a mistake when I did the budget. I didn't catch them. This is something that will be covered through our budget. We're currently still trying to fill the positions, and as I've told some of you, I can fill them. It's just a matter of what quality do we want. And I'm not quite to that point yet, just to get anybody to fill a body. By March 1st, we will add 2 more, hopefully, keep our fingers crossed. And then we're actually looking at the other 2 positions right now of getting a younger guy, somebody out of the academy, somebody that we can mold and hopefully keep here. But we'll see. We'll see at that time. We still are getting applications in, but like I said, it's a unique situation. It really is. So, is there any questions you guys have on that?
No?
I'm fine with it. I asked you my question
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. That's for a future, whole different future discussion.
That's right, for a future discussion.
Mr. Chair, then I'll make a motion that we approve the Sheriff's Department request for approval of their personal action items for 2 officers, effective as of January 1st, 2022.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the personal action items for the 2 officers effective January 1st, 2022. First by Commissioner McConnell, seconded by Commissioner Fackrell. Any questions to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is Mike on, is he with us?
No, he's not with us, and I don't know if he
Told me to put.
mentioned to anybody.
And he told me to do that right in the meeting, and I'm having a COVID moment, I guess, because I cannot even think of what it was for.
It was a budget amendment,
I know it was a budget amendment.
Age moment or a COVID moment?
but we didn't get any information on it, so we have no clue what it
Yeah,
was.
you're right.
So we can't help you.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we defer the budget amendment for the fair until February 15th, 2022.
I'll second that one.
We've got a motion to
It is.
defer the budget amendment for the fair till next February 15th meeting. First by Member McConnell, second by Member Fackrell. All in favor?
It's probably better to say postpone, but
Postponed?
Yeah.
Thank you. Postponed.
And ask the fair board not to kill me.
Okay, next on the agenda item, we do have a public hearing. We will hear from Lance first, and then we will go through our request for a motion to adjourn public meeting, convene public hearing.
So this is a proposed code amendment. You guys, the county commission, they initiated this several months ago during a rezone discussion where the code did not allow for any flexibility in rezoning a property if it was under an approach surface. As you guys are well aware, or you gentlemen are well aware, the changes that were proposed were simply to, which one are you doing first? Airport. I've got them backwards. The changes were in 2 areas. In essence, what the current code says is that it is unfavorable to rezone property under the approach surface. And basically leaves it at that. It defines the area. And the proposed amendment is to add that beneath the approach surfaces on both ends, that is a rezone will not be favorably considered 2A, and what we're adding is that it will not be favorably considered to a materially higher residential density, parentheses, e.g. from a single-family residential to a multifamily residential. And then in item number 3 of the code, it says that beneath the approach surfaces extending from the outer boundaries and out to 5,000 feet, any residential rezoning to a more dense concentration than an R5 shall only be approved if it was concentrated. And we were adding in there that a rezoning of an area more than 1 acre. So it's a little hard to follow there, just reading code. But essentially what we're proposing in these 2 changes will make it so that a rezone can be considered if it's keeping a similar density and if it's less than an acre in size. Otherwise, rezoning is not favorably considered, which is the current code language. The Planning Commission held their meeting on this last week. Was not able to get their information in the packet, but they had some discussion about the fact that we are doing this for a very specific reason. And there were some concerns brought up about that aspect, that it was really, there's not a lot of area that this is going to impact. But in the end, the Planning Commission recommended 4-2 to the County Commission that it be approved. Do you have any questions of me?
I'm just wondering about the parenthetical, the for example parenthetical, whether we should keep that where it's at or move it behind the word density. Any residential zoning to, I guess, does it say "and" over there?
Yes,
A material.
To a materially higher residential density, e.g. from a single-family residential to multifamily residential, as opposed to just behind the word materially. That makes sense, a little more intuitive sense to me.
Yeah, makes more sense.
Any other? I shouldn't be asking. Sorry, old habits are hard to break.
Drinking it in a little bit. Any other comments or for Lance, or discussion from that with Lance?
Well, I'm just confused. Why is it saying Morgan County Airport Code Amendment?
Well, this is the airport overlay zoning. Airport overlay is a zone that this is in. That's the criteria. This is the chapter of the code. So I broadly said airport code amendment, but it is the airport overlay zone code amendment that we're discussing.
So how much area is that? I mean, is it just where the flight patterns go? I mean, where they fly over and come in?
I can pull up the map and walk you through it, but it's essentially, it says here in the code, it's 5,000 feet out from the ends of the runway. So almost a mile each direction in a slope. I can't remember what's in here. That's not in this portion. I didn't put that in the code, but it's a slope that goes out for 5,000 feet from the ends of the runways. That's the approach surface.
Okay.
There's other elements. There's the transitional surface to the sides, and the runway approach zone is a much smaller area right at the end of the runway. And so this is the stuff that's a little further out. The airplanes are coming over this. It's just a slightly less standard than the runway protection zone, which is right close to the runway.
So now with all the buildings that are around the airport right now, is it protecting us now by putting this in, or what? How is this?
This change won't change the current situation.
Okay.
I mean, the airport is in a small little valley. It has had a lot of residential, well, not a lot, but it has had residential approved around it that is below the approach surfaces. You know, the ideal situation would be not to have any residential anywhere close to the airport. That decision was made years ago to have some residential there. The Rose Hill subdivision that we're discussing, that instigated all this, that's been there a long time with the airport there. And the concern is that when we increase the density of homes or structures close to the airport, we want to keep that to a minimum in order to keep the airport as safe as possible and the community around it as safe as possible. But the code is there to outline the kinds of issues we'd like to avoid.
Okay. All right.
And I neglected to say, the Airport Advisory Committee did meet and have a discussion on this. They were a little concerned about it, but once they understood the limitations that even with the code amendment, we're talking only places smaller than an acre, and you can't increase the density, they came around and thought it would be okay. So, I mean, their interest is, they're very concerned about keeping as much development away from potential harm as possible for both the flyers and the surrounding residents.
Garrett, did you have any concerns or?
I didn't. It kind of, I remember the picture when it came up before and it was showing, you know, it wouldn't impact too many homes, but there was no flexibility, and there was a discussion by the commission saying we think that we should look at expanding the flexibility here. I don't see it as an issue because it's not changing the residential density materially. So I think it's a very limited change that allows a little flexibility without negative impacts to the area around the airport.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn public meeting and convene public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion to adjourn public meeting, convene public hearing by Commissioner McConnell, second by Commissioner Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll open this for public comment concerning this item. If you have any comments you'd like to make, please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn public hearing and reconvene public meeting.
So moved.
One of you pick and then the other second.
Okay, I moved it, yeah.
Okay,
I moved it
I
and he
worded
seconded
that
it.
perfectly.
got a motion to adjourn public hearing and reconvene public meeting by Commissioner Fackrell, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. And we have an
Action on it.
action on this.
I move that we amend, let's see. I move that we amend the proposed MCC 8-5H-4 development restrictions and standards to allow for flexibility in the potential approval of rezoning property in the airport overlay zone.
I'll second and then ask for a friendly amendment.
Oh, if you'd like, I'll withdraw it.
No, it's fine.
And then you can do it correctly.
I just, the motion is fine, except that I would like to move the parenthetical that's in
Oh, yeah.
subpart 1 from behind the word materially to after the word density,
Density.
and add the word a, rezoning to a materially higher residential density, e.g. from a single-family residential to a multifamily residential, close paren.
Okay,
If you're okay with that amendment.
Yes, I'm okay with that. In fact, I would rather just withdraw the first one and then you can go and just put that one in as the second one, as the original.
we got a motion from Commissioner Fackrell to recommend approval to County Commission for the revision of the Morgan County Code Section 8-5H-4 to amend the language to allow for flexibility in the potential approval of rezoning property in the airport overlay zone. Based on the text listed in the staff report dated January 27th, 2022. I'm adding that to your motion.
That's fine.
If you're okay with that. Also with the changes as noted by Commissioner McConnell. We've got a second by Commissioner McConnell. Any questions to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, last item for public hearing. We'll hear from Planning Director Lance Evans on the Winterton Commercial Use Table Code Amendment.
This is also code amendment. There's a property, the commercial buffer zone exists, is the airport, most of the airport, the southwest portion of the airport, and then some commercial properties across the street from it are zoned commercial buffer. Last year we went through and tried to clean that ordinance up and tighten up what the commercial buffer uses were. We did a lot of amending to the existing uses that were in the development there. One of the items we thought was inappropriate at that time, and it went through both the staff and the planning commission and the county commission. That ordinance was approved and removed outside storage in that zone, thinking that it's close to residential. We wouldn't want to, do outside storage there. There were several grandfathered in outside storage lots in this commercial area off the airport. But as luck would have it, one of those property owners had to move their outside storage, and they couldn't move it across the street because we had removed it from the ordinance. So we discussed it. The planning commission is recommending approval. Will allow for that outside storage to be a C3 conditional use permit, which will come to the county commission and for review of the conditional use permit. And that would allow us to impose, if a storage unit goes there, restrictions to buffer any impact. The adjacent properties, as we've just been discussing, are under the airport overlay. And so we want to keep development there to a minimum. We don't want to see housing. The area to the south of the proposed lot of Mr. Winterton, the applicant, is actually vacant now and with some housing to the east. But it would, that property, based on our current code and what you just adopted tonight for the overlay, should remain vacant. We don't want to put housing there. So hopefully there would be minimal impact there. I'll let Mr. Winterton get up and discuss his request as well, but the planning commission recommends approval.
So I'm just trying to make sure I know where this is on the map.
Let me pull that up.
Because there's no map here.
Unfortunately, the airport overlay changes the colors, I think. Oh, that might fix it.
It's a little hard to read, but this orange area is commercial buffer zone. This is the different airport overlay surfaces that kind of make it harder to see. But I'm going to leave them on there for just a minute. I believe, and correct me Dale if I say any of this wrong, but I believe you're moving, he has existing storage going on there for the impound lot. Would like to move it to one of these two lots.
That one right there.
That one right there, right? Left.
To the left.
Wants to move it there. Well, as you can see, this is the runway protection zone. Our code does allow for development and buildings to be put in this area, in this particular commercial area. That is a provision in our code. But here on out is where we would not rezone or put any higher density or any development really. Let me think. So that's what, anyway, so that's the areas we're talking about.
Do we have an application on the corner that he's vacating?
Yes, we've actually approved, it's Shortfield Landings, it's gonna be a commercial office, flex space. We'll have office and some shops, that type of thing.
And then that property to the east, that's the storage buildings, right?
There's storage
Right
units
there.
there, are these also storage units? Some.
Okay.
Let me turn off the overlay.
Actually, the storage ones are to the west.
I thought they were.
Well, there's
I
there's
thought
two
they were to
sets
the
of them.
northeast,
There's one right at the end of,
right there on the road on the
Cottonwood.
corner,
or Willow Creek Road.
right there.
Okay, all right.
That's the storage.
Those are storage, okay.
You're
That's
moving
one of
two doors down from the storage units.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
it's one of those two lots then?
It's the
That
furthest
one.
one to the west.
It's which one?
The one that's got the arrow on.
Okay, all right.
But this applies to the entire zone.
Correct.
So that means those three lots then will become the same usage, the C.
They could,
Okay,
they'd have to go through a conditional use process. This just would allow for that, as opposed to not allow at all.
okay.
Is that just an open or is it fenced or what is it?
It is fenced now.
Is it open fence, Dale, or is it privacy fence or what is it?
It's 6-foot chain link.
Chain link?
I fenced it according to the state impound rules. It's got wire on the top.
So are you planning on putting a building in there, or is it just gonna be just for the outdoor storage?
The plan would be eventually.
Okay.
As of right now, you know, I don't make hardly any money over there, so.
So currently, you're just gonna be stacking cars in there,
Well,
or vehicles that have been
most of our
impounded?
Most of our cars go down to our rental location.
Okay,
My main emphasis right here is to keep an impound yard because every county needs an impound yard and that's the only one in the county of Morgan.
okay,
In order to have an impound yard, I have to be licensed, I have to have, you know, state impounds, and the state impound, they've already approved it. Huh? You bet. Yeah, it's already all fenced. What questions do you have? Let me explain, you know, with all the HOAs that have been going in around, they're only allowed to keep so many trailers or whatever on their property, it has to be behind a fence. And so the overflow, what I'm hoping for is overflow of people's, you know, like travel trailers and that type of stuff. So it's gonna be outside clean storage, be mostly RVs with a little section to put, you know, if I have to put an impound car in there. Currently, you know, most of the stuff is taken down to the UNF yard. So, but in order for me to be on rotation up here with the sheriff, I have to have that licensing.
sound locked.
And if I don't get the licensing, then then the business goes away up here. And then Blaine would be having to rotate off the Weber County rotation, which would probably double and triple the time that it'd take to get a tow truck up here. And when it doubles and triples the time, then it double and triples the cost of the tow for the consumer. So,
So is your business operation out of your Uinta office?
our main office is there, yes. This is just a satellite impound yard. The state lets me have a central office within 10 miles. And so my central office is 10 miles away. Last month, just to kind of give you an idea how many cars we do for the sheriff's department, last month on my dispatch records, I had 11 cars that we impounded for the sheriff's department. But you know, if that was to go away, the 11 cars, they would be waiting. How long did it take you to get one stopped was
Sure. Sorry.
It's hard to get away
You can
from
say
that.
I don't have to get up in public comment. We've worked out with Dell for 12 years now. It is very beneficial, not just to our office, to the community, because he says the majority of them go to his UNA, but the majority of the Morgan vehicles would go here, just so the mere fact people aren't gonna have to travel and do stuff like that. It's been very beneficial. What he's talking about is he is our sole provider for dispatch calls or director service for Morgan County that we request. The reason being is before, we would get people out of Ogden and it would be 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm not exaggerating on that.
And that's in town, that's not Big
That's,
Mountain.
yeah. We actually have some that when we had others on the rotation, we would say, okay, it's at East Canyon, they would decline. They'd say, no, we're not coming. I'm like, no, you don't pick and choose which ones you want. Or some are more desirable. If we call for a travel trailer, they really don't like taking those too well, but Dell's always done it for us. Others have declined. They've just said, no, we're not doing it. So we decided to go with Dell, and we've had nothing but great success. This would be a benefit. He's already got his lot there. It's just a benefit to the county to have it. I've driven by and it's not what you think. It's not just a total
It's not a junkyard.
It's not a junkyard. You know, these vehicles, I would say, what's your average weight on a vehicle that you've impounded or a wreck? Couple weeks?
Couple weeks, yeah.
Couple weeks and it's
Most
gone.
of them are gone within 3 or 4 days because the state allows $40 a day so the people actually want to come and get their vehicles. Occasionally we'll get a car that they don't want to pick up and I have to wait sometimes 30 to 60 days for the state to come up and have an impound sale. And then obviously it's not worth anything, so I take it down and crush it. So.
Yeah, these aren't gonna be vehicles that are gonna be sitting there and it's gonna become an eyesore.
Okay.
Another thing too, I wish Boyd was here because, I mean, if you drive past the fire station down in Mountain Green, there's 2 cars back behind there. We donate cars all the time for extrication practices so the fire department can practice on them. And listen, we did 3 right behind here about 6 months ago that we donated to the fire department. So it's another additional service that we provide for the county.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments for staff or for Nell? Okay, I can entertain a motion to adjourn public meeting and convene public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we got a motion to adjourn public meeting, convene public hearing by Commissioner McConnell, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public comments. Please come up and state your name if you have a comment and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
I've spoke with both of the property owners behind my lot, the 2 houses behind. I can't remember who's, Matt. Yeah, Matt Patterson. He said, you know, we move in behind a commercial area. We're not expecting, I mean, it's gonna be a business. And the other guy, I told him, I said, this is gonna be a storage lot mostly for trailers. There's not gonna be dust, there's not gonna be manufacturing, there's not gonna be light. He says, you know what, I really appreciate you coming and telling me that. So I'm not surprised when all of a sudden I get a big, manufacturing dust making machine, in my backyard. So I've already spoke with both of those and they said that's great. I've also spoke with both owners on both sides, Dirk Purser and Scott Smalley, and they both have construction companies, and their main objective there would be to store their equipment for their construction company. And they're in the same situation I am. They're sitting in an undeveloped lot, and now they're under the same stipulation that I'm under, and they both told me that I could speak for them and say that they want the same thing, so.
Okay, do we have any public comments? All right, seeing none.
I'll move that we close the public hearing and go back into public meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a motion to adjourn public hearing and reconvene public meeting by Commissioner McConnell, seconded by Commissioner Fackrell.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we approve the revision of the Morgan County Code Section 8-5C-3 to allow for outdoor storage as a C2 use in the CB zone based on the text listed in the staff report dated January 13th, 2022.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion.
February.
February?
February 2nd, 2022?
Today's the 1st, so what date are we?
Or February
Doesn't matter.
1st.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the revision Let's see, revision to Morgan County Code Section 8-5C-3 to allow for outdoor storage as a C2 use in the CB zone based on the text listed in the staff report dated February 1st, 2022. By Commissioner McConnell, seconded by, was it Commissioner Fackrell again, or Commissioner?
I did.
Sorry,
I think he
seconded
did.
by Commissioner
He
Wilson.
beat me to it this time.
Any questions or comments to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Fackrell.
Well, we've got a couple of things we're doing. As you know, we've got to come up with some kind of an ordinance for the capital. It's called Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation,
I did not know that.
okay? It's actually, we're in violation as of today, because we do not have that. Lance is going to, I talked to him today, and he said he would
That's
go
the
and,
email we just got today.
well,
They're
I got it
trying to
yesterday.
extend the deadline, but it hasn't been extended yet.
Hasn't been extended. So basically, we're gonna need to be thinking of that. Lance is gonna start working on a resolution for us, or to change the ordinance and to go through the public hearing and all those kinds of things that we have to. So,
I didn't understand what
the capital was.
what, how it helps or hurts or.
It's
I
a,
think the,
go ahead.
I think the gist of it is that the state put in place a statewide authorization for them to locate unless we impose restriction. And because we don't have an existing restriction, then somebody could come in and say, I want to put my concentrated animal feeding operation
Right next to your house.
next to Commissioner Wilson.
Yep.
So if you designate a place within the county, then
I've had that before.
Yeah, and that, yeah, and that's the big thing, is like Garrett says, we're gonna need, we have to designate an area in which we have to designate an area, not just say, well, we don't have one. We have to designate an area for them if they wanted to, if somebody wanted to come. That would be the only area they could do it. Okay? And, I just wanted to mention to each one of you, I hope you've read the information from Senator Romney that came to us this week on the different projects that we could be looking at and applying for different grants and part of that money, and I'd like you to go through them. A lot of them are going to be concerning water development still, broadband furthering that, and there was a couple more electric units, sewer, a bunch of them. So anyway, we need to be looking at that in the future. And
What is going on with broadband going down Morgan Valley Drive? I had some, that's the update today.
it's actually down Morgan Valley Drive, but it's,
Not into Porterville though.
yeah, only up to, it's not all the way up there yet, into Porterville. And it will only go to the Y in Porterville, or basically where Highway 66 is and Morgan Valley meet. And that's the only place it'll go to at this point. The state parks, we are working on
Where is it to? Is it to the Y yet?
it's to the Y of Young Street,
Yeah.
but it's not up to Highway 66 yet.
So it was up there by the roses that was asking me how long before they're gonna have. You don't know?
I have no clue. I'm getting a little frustrated because it was supposed to have been done by the end of 2021, and it's not done yet.
Have we paid them in full?
I think so, didn't we? You guys did it last year.
Yeah, I think that one was pretty much all out the door.
No, that probably doesn't
Yeah.
give them much incentive, dang it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's one more item.
Would it help to have Garrett write him a letter?
We could.
Just say,
I'll call him
Get the
again
move
tomorrow,
on,
but we
fulfill
need
your
to,
contract.
yeah, but I don't know really what kind of a
Your brothers.
contract we had. That's what I understand, is that the contract was not necessarily a great contract. I don't even know, it was just They wanted to have it completed by the end of 2021. That's all.
There's a
right?
letter agreement.
Yeah, a letter agreement. So that's all we got.
Well, an agreement is an agreement. You're given money and said you'd do something.
Right. And oh, if you did not know, we have received a grant for the rural grant, Part B. And we received that grant a week ago, for $100,000 for an event space. And that's what we're working on with the state parks. So that's where it's located, or going to be located.
State parks or?
Up at East Canyon State Park on the south end. And so we're working on all those details, and we'll let you know later as to what's
By
going on.
the resort?
Up near the resort, it's on the state parks property. It's right at the end. There's a group area up there, and that's the area they want to put the this project, the event space. Anything else that I'm missing? Oh, okay. Oh, did we have to have a resolution or whatever on this thing from Representative Moore that we just received this afternoon by tomorrow?
I don't have any updates, but if you want to move on, but I'll try to find that.
What was that set?
Today.
What time?
Late today.
Late
Right there,
today,
5:15. No.
The one from Paul Johnson?
Here it is,
I thought it said
Jamie
Blake Moore on
Andrus.
mine, but I'm not finding it now.
Okay, here it is. It's the Jamie Andrus. Oh, that's the different one. I'll find it here where you go ahead and.
I don't have any additional comments.
I'll look it up. Come
Commissioner
back.
Wilson, do you
I
have
don't
anything?
either. No.
Well, hang on then.
We didn't ever formally approve that Choice in Education Week or whatever it is, but I'm in support of choice in education.
Do we need to formally approve it?
No, I would have put it on the agenda, I think.
Nice thought.
Well, I've got one from his office, from Paul Johnson at 3:35, but I'm not seeing it ask for an action.
Can't even find it. Okay, well, if you've got it there, I don't have it. I don't know
Okay,
where they go.
I would like to go into a closed meeting for purposes of discussing disposition of county property.
I'll
Okay, do we need to,
second on that,
what we do to close, we close the public meeting.
Mm-hmm.
and then we do we have to second?
So we need a motion to close the public meeting, where we convene for a closed session to discuss disposition of property, county property.
I'll
Yes.
second it.
So
Okay,
moved.
got a motion by Commissioner McConnell, seconded by Commissioner Fackrell. All in favor?
We have to do that by roll call.
Oh, roll call, sorry.
roll call.
Commissioner
Aye.
Fackrell, Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
and I vote aye.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna.
I'll be right back. Is Debbie still here?
She has to go to another meeting.
Okay.
Are you not taking an opportunity?
I don't need to for some reason.
I'll be the agency.
Maybe I.
It's an early night.
Yeah, you
I'm sorry. I've got a whole page here. That's right. I mean, there's a lot of things going on.
I call Captain America. No.
Oh, we never even took a break.
We didn't need one. I'd like to know where my email goes.
Hey, Garrett?
Yes. Oh, let me go print that right now, actually.
Yeah, because it
I'll
has.
go print a new one,
Okay.
and then I'll swing right back in.
Okay.
Camera's still not turned.
How are your parents and your family?
Don't forget to turn off the lights.
Have you got a sign thing for me to
Turn-
sign?
Turn off
Turn
these.
off the what?
Did you turn
The light sound, just to the hallway that
Oh,
ran down.
and that needs to be turned, right?
Is that? Yeah, so you may have to text Jeremy and let him know. Or if you need me
Do
to,
I
I
have
will.
something to sign?
I don't know because you don't sign the truck thing, do you?
No.
Okay, so
No.
I think that, Jen signed.
But I just wanted to sign that one from Melissa, the Weaver Morgan. She can't, she doesn't have it at all.
No, we can't find it. So I need it to be resent so that we can print it for you and then have you sign it.
Oh, really?
Yes. I would have happily reprinted it.
Did they send it to you
No,
directly?
you handed it to me at a meeting after. It wasn't on the agenda that night.
Yeah, do that, and then I'll work on it here in about 30 minutes.
Is Jeremy, have we contacted him?
No, sorry, just 1 second. I'm
Let me
gonna
go
go,
do
need
it.
you to sign these. Garrett's reprinting this.
Yeah, you want me to
Little
send
basket
it
over
to
here.
Jeremy?
Oh,
I know,
Yeah.
Commissioner Wilson moved it thinking out of sight, out of mind, but.
Don't forget all those things in the purple folder.
do I turn anything else off?
We'll have to turn off. Is that supposed to go off the,
The white noise is
that
on.
light thingy, is that the noise?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, the white noise is working. We just need to have him turn off the public feed.
no, not there, over there.
Do we have anybody else that will be speaking tonight?
Oh, no.
Okay. That switch back there, I think, has to be turned down. I'm not sure.
No, that's on,
That's
that's
on?
done, but we need to have the camera turned. Or
And I just texted him.
He's probably not used to it being this early.
Yeah, I'm sure of that.
Maybe it's Commissioner Newton that makes these drag on so long, is that what it is? He's not here and they go.
it's hard to control at night, you know? You never know. Sometimes I thought,
Okay, I
we'll be
just
out of
sent that
there
to
in no
you.
time, and then it's
Julie.
like,
Oh, thank you.
why are we spending 45 minutes on this item?
Yeah, I kinda like you as not chair because you get, you go right after it.
That's right, I like that. We get all the resolutions done correctly, we get it all done right.
There's 2 cables up behind it.
There's not a signature page on this.
Oh, did it not print on the back page, or?
Okay.
Oh, I was almost out of paper, so I bet that's what it is.
Yeah.
Which pages are you missing?
On to,
Okay, there's-
page 4 was the last one I put
Yeah, I'll grab it.
in.
Did you guys get this invitation to the Weber Human Services Foundation Golf Tournament on June 20th, 2022? Golfers?
I golf, but
I golf.
I
You
don't,
you do golf?
I do not golf. Oh,
Matt? you
I
golf?
didn't, I don't.
I need a tall.
Is it the
I'll see
Weaver
if I
Human
can go.
Services?
a tall
what?
person,
I guess I could go.
Jared or him. I'm the shortest.
Jeremy's not able to get it done, so he wants to.
Is Weaver Human Services?
one
If
on
I
the
go,
back
if I
of
go to
that
plenty
blue
tournament, I could go again.
Go again, yep.
See the yellow one?
We will be
That's
having,
what I was gonna ask you about that today, because I was looking at, as I mentioned